Welcome to the 2-minute spiritual growth moment. The question I want you to consider today is, does the gospel I believe naturally lead to discipleship? Or said another way, does the gospel I believe naturally lead to following Jesus? Because if you call yourself a Christian, what a Christian is, what it means is to be a follower of Jesus. And so we want to ask, does the gospel we believe naturally lead to following Jesus? And so the two false gospels that I'm going to look at today is the gospel of forgiveness only and the gospel of the right. And then after we'll look at the true gospel, the gospel of the kingdom. So the forgiveness only gospel goes like this. All you need to do to be a follower of Christ is receive his forgiveness on your behalf. Receive it by grace alone, by faith alone, and afterwards you're all set. Because to say anything else would be asking for you to do a work for your salvation to earn it. And while part of that is true, we do receive salvation by grace alone, by faith alone, what this gospel gets wrong is that in the end of the day, it's not saying that you need to actually follow Jesus, that you can take that grace and then do what you want with it. You don't actually need to follow Jesus. You can use grace to essentially live a life completely apart from Jesus. But isn't that absurd that you can be a follower of Christ without following Jesus? So that gospel is junk. It doesn't lead us to, it's incomplete, I should say. It doesn't lead us to actually following Jesus. The second gospel, the false gospel, is the gospel of the right. And in this gospel, it says it's all about believing the right facts about Jesus, having the right doctrines. That if you have the right intellectual information and believe in it, mentally assent to it, then you will be saved. And again, the problem with this gospel is really this is what I was taught in seminary in so many ways, was that I grew in my knowledge of Jesus, but I didn't grow in my affection or devotion for him at all. It didn't necessarily lead to a deeper discipleship. And the problem with it is because, what it says in Luke 6 verses 40, that when a student is fully trained, he becomes like his master. And so the problem with that gospel is that I'm not told that I have to become like Jesus. I'm not given a vision to become like Jesus. That's just an extra work if I want to, but it's really all about getting the right facts. But Jesus' model of discipleship wasn't that at all. Jesus' model of discipleship was, yes, learning about who he was, but it was so much more learning to trust him day in and day out, learning to trust him enough to do what was beyond your own capacity. That's what it meant to follow Jesus, to surrender all of our expectations, surrender all of our life and our first allegiance to him alone. That's essentially what the gospel of the kingdom is. The gospel of the kingdom is saying that that Jesus is my Lord and my Savior, and that I can live under his good and righteous rule and reign. That yes, I'm saved by faith alone, by grace alone, but for what? Not so I can live however I want, not just so I can have the right information, but so that I can live today and now for all eternity under God's righteous rule and good rule and reign. And saying that's where I thrive, that's how I was meant to live. And that does naturally lead to discipleship. That means that now today I can begin living as a follower of Jesus and see my work or other areas of my life, like how they all fit into that, as opposed to as being a secondary thing that has nothing to do with being a follower of Jesus. So that was our 2-minute spiritual transformation moment. Hope you'll check us out for our next one.